Charlie Morton being out for the rest of the postseason, do the Braves still have the pitching edge over the Astros? Aram, I'll throw it to you to start.
You know, it is really tough because I still love that bullpen, that the Braves have had going for them right now. But, you look at how much we docked the Astros for the loss of Lance McCullers, and now we look at what that means for the Braves. That question could be more properly answered when game 2 actually happens, because if Max Fried struggles again, now you have that feeling of almost like, who do we go to? It's Ian Anderson. Like, we're counting on the fake rookie. He's still really young to be able to carry us. I still think it's advantage Braves with Ian Anderson and Max Fried, because I just don't think that there's anything starting pitching wise that matches up with that with the Astros with McCullers out. But it got closer. It definitely got closer, especially with what Morton meant in game 1, game 4, and game 7, if it was going that far. But I'm still thinking it's advantage Braves there in that department.
Jack, what are you thinking?
I think advantage Braves, but they need to have a couple of guys that haven't needed to contribute down the stretch. So I think that on paper, the Braves are the better pitching team, but we've made it very clear that the Astros have something that the Braves do not, and that's Christian Javier, a guy that can go 4 innings out of the bullpen and can be the bridge man from a rough start to the back end of the bullpen that has been dominant, right? The Red Sox had 2 of them in Houck and Pivetta. The Astros had the other good example of it in Javier. Shane McClanahan tried doing it in the ALDS. The Braves haven't needed anybody to try to do that.
Yeah.
So yes, you still have Fried and Ian Anderson, who I think are just objectively a better tandem than Framber Valdez and Luis Garcia, especially after Valdez's game 1 outing. We'll see how Garcia does tonight, but you said it's a 20-19 Braves win. So obviously He didn't do well. Here's what I'll say. 2 names. Huascar Ynoa needs to be really good. Tucker Davidson needs to be really good. Tucker Davidson is the lefty that just replaced Charlie Morton on the World Series roster. If those guys, and they both do, have the capability to go 4, if one of them can go 4 and put together a quality 4 in game 4 that Morton was supposed to throw in, I think the Braves are set up fine.
I agree. You guys pretty much touched on all of it. The only thing I'd add is the fact that if we're talking about those under the radar guys, Jake Odorizzi turned in a really good start in game 1. Drew Smiley has proved throughout, at least against the Dodgers and against the Brewers, that he can be a valuable fill-in too for the Braves on that side. So obviously it's a big blow to the Braves, but I still do think that the Braves have the edge in starting pitching, considering how bad Framber looked in his first start. But Framber also didn't look good in his first start against the Red Sox, then came in through 8 innings of 1-run ball. So it's tough to tell. Aram, you were going to add something else.
It's going to be hard for Huascar Ynoa to eat innings when he's not on the roster.
Yeah, Kyle Wright is on the roster. Sorry about that.
Kyle Wright, Vanderbilt.
Yes.
That's about it.
He was a top prospect. Is he?
Yeah, he was.
Do you like him, Aram? Because I've always felt that he's just the pinnacle of Kyle Wright is Kyle Gibson.
At best.
Yeah.
At best. No, that's why I was raising my hand. I was like, Noah's not there. But yeah, if he was there, he would really need to come up big because he was a big part of what they were doing early in the year. Kyle Wright might have to eat innings. I mean, it's going to be all hands on deck because it's not just about what happened to Morton. It's about what they had to do as a result. Minter's burned until, you go back home. And, that's a big part of your bullpen.
And Morton was the inning eater out of the 3 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, even on the worst day, we saw it against the Dodgers, right? Morton, he walked 3 guys in the first inning. That start against the Dodgers. He walked 4 guys in the first inning, and he still gave them, I think, 5 innings or something. He gave them like a very good start postseason wise. We have to adjust the definition of quality start for the postseason because 6 innings just doesn't happen. If you go 5 innings, I think regardless of how many runs are scored against you, that's a quality start.
We should give Minter a quality start for what he did in relief for Charlie Morton.
So this next question is great because it's a hypothetical and it still makes sense with the pitching conversation. Would you rather lose Charlie Morton for the series and win game 1, or would you rather lose game 1 and have Morton available for games 4 and 7. Interested to see how much stock you put in game 1 versus Morton's value for this team in this series. So to just ask that again, would you rather lose Morton for the series but win game 1, or would you rather lose game 1 but still have Morton available? Jack, I'll ask
Thank
you
God.
that. It's the tough one.
Thank God.
It's a good question though.
It's the best question ever asked.
Yeah.
I'd rather well, Charlie Morton just pulled a Greg Jennings in game 1. He was running on a broken fucking leg.
Crazy.
Against the hardest hitting safety in the league, Jose Altuve, who
still throwing 98 too. Banger of a curveball
with a good hook. Yeah. I would rather my ace not have a broken leg, but a win in the World Series is a win in the World Series, especially on the road in game 1.
Yep.
Yeah, like that's big. I don't feel great going back to Atlanta, getting you set for game 4. But if Max Fried comes away with a win tonight and you go into the off day and you've got Ian Anderson on full rest, ready to rev up, I feel okay. I think it really depends how this Wednesday night game 2 goes. If it's tied 1-1, I think I would rather have Charlie Morton around. But if you're up 2-0, if somebody has to be the sacrificial lamb, I bet Charlie Morton would sacrifice himself. He would just come out of the group and be like, you know what? I'm like 37 years old. I'll do it.
Aram, what do you think?
So, this was such a hard thing to answer that I had to go like into the numbers of it. And a team that wins game 1 wins the series 64% of the time in the World Series. So you look at it from that standpoint, and it honestly doesn't even help that much because you're like, okay, 14% advantage from that win. 2 more potential starts of Charlie Morton is easily offsetting that. It's really hard. I think getting that win in Houston with how good the Astros are in Houston is so valuable. The Braves were good, really good at home. I loved that magic that they had against the Dodgers at home. The energy at Truist Park was awesome. I think they're going to feed off of it. Ian Anderson and Max Fried are big, big X factors. If Anderson wasn't pitching the way he's been pitching, I would say not worth it. But I got a lot of trust. I know I said like you're putting a lot into a guy that's technically still a rookie. I've got trust in him, and I'll take the win. And go lean towards, those 2 guys throwing and hoping that I can get one of the next 2. And then you're still in the driver's seat. But it's a really tough one because you figure it goes to game 7. You got the best game 7 pitcher ever going for you there. You're hoping that when you take game 1, it doesn't go to 7. And I think that's what we're hoping for if we're the Braves in this situation. So I'll take the win, but that is a really good question.
We are pretty much the Braves.
Yeah, I was going to throw out that same figure, that 64% of game 1. I agree. I'm taking the win. You need the win, especially it sets forth such good momentum, right? Going forward, you're the underdog in the series and you win game 1 in Houston while your starting pitcher goes down. That I feel like is more momentous and might actually build in a World Series rather than a game 1 loss, but you still have your stud ace. But it's hard because it's like in this hypothetical, is Charlie Morton also now just hurt beyond the series? And we have to deal with a 37-year-old who has a fractured right fibula. And we'll see, like, is that a part of the equation? Or are we just talking about the World Series?
I think just the World Series for the sake of the hypothetical. Yeah.
I'm
otherwise, then it's like, is Charlie Morton permanently damaged? Like,
yeah. Like, is that part of it?
Yeah, no. But I also think that knowing the pitching advantage they have in this game 2, and depending on how it shakes out, but I that kind of leans me even more so like, sorry to Charlie Morton's fibula, but we're going to stick with it.
When you heard Ken Rosenthal say that Charlie Morton had a fractured fibula, like, what was your reaction?
Sadness.
I was just, when he said that, I gave out this audible, like, oh, God,
I did the same thing, Jack. Like, oh, no. Well, first, I picked him as my World Series MVP if the Braves won, but that doesn't matter. What matters is his health, and especially a guy like Charlie Morton, such a likable guy. You saw he apologized to the Braves for breaking his own leg and then going out there and throwing 16 pitches, striking out Altuve. Like, what a dude. I love Charlie Morton. I hope he pitches into his mid-40s.
He might.
He's got the stuff to do it.
He might.
Watching 98.